We are a wool spinning mill based on the island of Grimsey in North Uist. The wool that we collect and convert into yarn is definitely it's influenced by the environment, it's influenced by the weather. On the animal itself, it's designed to protect the animal from the weather, and we like the idea of converting that wool into a yarn or a cloth that will protect people from the weather. It can be extreme, it can be windy, and it can be harsh at certain times of the year. And we feel if people are wearing that sort of wool protection, it's going to really be like part of their armour.
When you're cold, wool will keep you warm. When you're warm, it will cool you down. So the kind of characteristics that these fibres have had that have been known for centuries are just as relevant today as they were back in the centuries and millennia that humans have used them. Weaving is hugely important to this part of Scotland. It's kind of in our DNA to an extent. What Scotland brings to it is it takes that beautiful environment and it condenses it and puts it into the fabric that we've got.
Colour Scotland is a colour palette of Scotland which I use in my day-to-day work, and it's something that I guess I can rationalise where the colour comes from. It comes from maybe a boy or the sea or the sky or even just objects that I find. I mean, colour has always influenced people's identity, from way back, these very remote places, how people, weave their fabric, the colours they choose, the dyes they choose to do so. But I think there's a kind of natural kind of connection with the environment, and because people have been living in these beautiful places, it's very surprising how people are connecting emotionally to it.
Colour is an integral part of what the weaver does, and the Highlands are known for their wonderful colours. Those colours from the landscape can be captured in tweed and cloth. The colours around us very often influence the cloths that we make. Well, within the workshop we have a collection of vintage machinery that was all designed and developed for small artisan production. I love the place where I am.
Everybody's hairstyle is different. It's the same with sheep. The best fleece you're ever going to get is of a sheep that's just about a year old. It's never been clipped before, and that's really what we're looking for. We always try and find people who are like us, who've got a real interest and enthusiasm for Scottish and native wool, and who can convert our yarn into some beautiful, beautiful woven pieces.
If something doesn't work right in the weaver can turn around to the guy that's made the yarn and say, how do we get that better? And that collaborative working is really helpful in terms of making sure that we get the best possible product out of the process. And that sense of connection between the artisans that make the products and the products is really developed through that relationship with the fabric. And they've got to be really committed to that.
There's quite a resurgence and interest in local wools and Highland wools. So I do work with Uist Wool, and I do some commission weaving for them of a Scottish merino that I make into scarves and wraps for them.
We're more than just, Highland cows and tartan. And I think the Highlands are a rich source of colour, but also of, people making things like in a contemporary context. For me, that is partly, why I want to live here, and what inspires me as a designer.
I think that you can genuinely say 100% that the wool is from this area and that we've produced it into yarn, and kind of in that yarn we've got a sort of tangible bit of our own local culture, heritage, environment that then people can take away with them. If I can continue and we can continue to advocate for local wool, maybe eventually everybody will be wearing wool.
We talk a lot in the future about how everything's going to be mechanised, And whilst we'll get more efficient and we'll use more technology, we'll always need people, and we'll need skilled people. And that's going to be the bedrock of that Scottish essence in textiles.